Hello and welcome to No BS with Dr. Wood, and I'm Dr. Norman Wood. And this is probably going to be the most important podcast I ever give. And we're going to talk about our drug addiction problem and how we can turn this around, save our state, and save our loved ones' lives. I have been a physician for almost 30 years, and I am the former physician director for the West Virginia Division of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I helped design our MAT program, which is the medically assisted treatment for drug-addicted inmates. I also helped run 14 urgent care clinics in Seattle with a MIDA population of almost 8,000. And MIDA stands for the mentally ill, drug-addicted, and the homeless. And this is important to understand. Anyone who has been in a homeless camp for more than a few days is either mentally ill, drug-addicted, or both. And that is true 99% of the time, and these people can't help it. I'm also the former special agent who made the largest drug seizure in United States history in 1988 in San Francisco. It was 56 tons of narcotics. And I am also a former West Virginia state trooper who arrested many people for drugs. So I have been dealing with this problem, this drug problem, for almost 50 years. And I have known, arrested, or treated more drug addicts through medicine and law enforcement than probably anyone in West Virginia. And unless you have seen this problem from both perspectives of law enforcement and medicine, you really don't understand the MIDA problem completely. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to our drug addicted and the mentally ill. And I'm going to show you some facts to explain why we have not done anything correctly in dealing with this problem for the past 40 years. So stay tuned and cue the music. You're going to want to see this. Welcome back to No BS with Dr. Wood. In the previous podcast, I explained how we were being lied to and taken advantage of for decades by big pharma and criminal doctors and pharmacists. And this is how we got here. The problem is we are still being lied to, we are still being taken advantage of, and our loved ones are still dying. Here in West Virginia, I ask you what has changed over the past 40 years in regard to successful treatment of our drug addiction problem. And the key word is successful. And I will answer that question. Nothing successful has happened. Despite millions and millions of your taxpayer dollars being spent in West Virginia, the failure rate of drug detox programs is still over 90%. That is the failure rate, over 90%. Some drug detox clinics advertise they have a 50% success rate. Ask them over how much time is that 50% success rate calculated. They will tell you 30 to 60 days. Because 30% of patients that go through drug detox relapse in the first 30 days. 60% will relapse in the first 6 months, and 90% will relapse in the first year. The other 10% includes those who have overdosed and died that year. Don't believe those half-truths. And shortly, I will explain why it is impossible for these 30 to 90-day programs to be successful. I will show you the proof. You ask yourself, how can that be? How can we be so inept at solving a problem that we can solve if we do the right things? How can we be such failures? Well, maybe it is because we are still being lied to. Perhaps these programs are not designed to be successful. These clinics, after all, are a business. They must make a profit or they will be forced to close their doors. And I have owned and operated 4 urgent care clinics of my own, and you must continue to make a profit or you go out of business. The drug detox clinics are the same. So what would happen if these drug detox clinics were successful? What would happen if a drug addict was cured and he never had to go back through drug detox again? Because currently, these people go through drug detox time and time again as a never-ending cycle at these clinics. What would happen to these drug detox clinics if their never-ending supply of patients that never get any better suddenly got better and never came back? Would there still be 130 drug detox clinics in West Virginia as there are now? Absolutely not. These clinics would go out of business as soon as the patients started getting better. And would you like to know why from 2014 through 2016, the number of drug detox clinics in West Virginia took off? I'll tell you, it's because it became profitable for the drug detox clinics to exist. The Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare, was passed in 2010 to force people to have insurance. In 2014, the penalty for not having insurance increased to almost $700 per person and over $2,000 per family. This forced most people and families to get insurance. And the drug detox clinics could then charge insurance companies for services performed at their clinics. So in essence, there was a golden goose for the drug detox clinics, and that was Obamacare. Currently, a 30-day drug detox program can cost up to $20,000, and a 90-day program can cost up to $60,000. And where there is easy money, there is always corruption and scams. We just saw the scams in Wisconsin in child daycare and in California with the hospice care. It is very common. This is the Recovery Research Institute. It was formed by the Massachusetts General Hospital and the Harvard Medical School. RRI is doing some good in-depth research into drug addiction and recovery. A very reputable organization. And they have this posted on their website. Addiction Treatment Scams Explained. They list 7 different ways drug detox clinics scam the system to make money. Number 1 is patient brokering, as well as insurance overbilling and insurance fraud. In 2021, a movie came out called The Body Brokers, and it's about drugs, rehab, and profit. I encourage you to watch it on one of the movie channels. This movie was directed by John Schwab, who was at one time a drug addict and lived the life depicted in the movie. He was brokered. The Body Brokers show how some of the drug detox clinics and some of the drug rehab businesses scam the system to make millions and millions of dollars. For example, this is a urine drug screen cup. It costs the clinics about $2. The clinic will do these in-house drug urine tests and charge the insurance companies from $1,000 up to $2,000 for each test. And the clinic may do 2 or 3 of these urine screens per week, per patient. So that is $8,000 to $24,000 for 1 month for one person. And the average cost to stay for a 30-day detox is from $10,000 to $20,000. And a 90-day detox can be as high as $60,000. And again, if any of these businesses were successful, they would go out of business quickly. But they will never be successful. It is an impossibility. They know this, and here's why. This is Dr. Rita Goldstein. She is the national and international leader in neuroimaging of the addicted brain. Narcotics are neurotoxic to the brain. Drugs will do so much damage to the brain that areas of the brain are actually turned off, and these areas can shrink. And the most damage is done to the prefrontal cortex, where we get our reasoning ability, logical thought process, and our inhibitions. I have communicated with Dr. Goldstein, and through her research, we can now prove that narcotics damage the brain, and when this happens, you can absolutely see a personality change. This is why family and loved ones say they just want their son or daughter back. They say they are not the same person, and they are not. Because once the prefrontal cortex is turned off, you are not the same person. At the same time the prefrontal cortex is being damaged and turned off, the pleasure center of the brain, the nucleus accumbens, is being taken over by the drugs. The pleasure center is bombarded with more dopamine during drug use than it is during sex. And once the pleasure center is taken over by the drugs and the prefrontal cortex is damaged, your ability to think rationally and logically is no more. You are no longer in control. The drugs are. Once these neurological changes occur, the ability of self-control or personal responsibility is virtually gone. I had a patient one time who was an addict. He had been to detox. And on one occasion I asked him how long it had been since he had shot up. He said 3 days. His mother worked for me, and I told him if anything ever happened to him, it would kill his mother. He promised and promised and promised me he would stop. A few weeks later, his mother found him dead on her couch at their home. So no matter what they say, you can never trust them. The craving is just too much, and the brain is just too damaged. They may want to believe what they are saying, but they are not in control. And even after abstinence, the cravings can increase up to 2 years. This is why people who have been clean for months and months and even over a year will relapse, and some will overdose and die because the amount of drugs they were once used to may now be too much for their respiratory system. The respiratory system is overtaken by the drugs. It shuts down. You stop breathing. You suffocate and you die. That is the horrible reality of drug addiction, and West Virginia families deal with this every single day. 2 or 3 West Virginia mothers today and every single day begin their screaming that will last a lifetime as they face bearing a child. And this drug addiction was by design by some very evil, greedy people, and the continuation of this drug addiction is being continued by some very evil and greedy people. This is how they make their money. And they're not going to stop until we stop them. Now that's the bad news. This is the good news. Also, due to Dr. Goldstein's and other researchers, we can now also prove that the brain can recover and heal itself if there's enough time after abstinence. We can now prove that it takes the brain an average of 15 weeks, that is 105 days or almost 4 months, to even begin to recover after abstinence from narcotics. So if you stop doing drugs today, your brain will not even begin to recover and heal until almost 4 months have gone by. And if you use drugs in the meantime, you start back at 0 on the timeline. We can now see this on special MRI and CT scans. We can also prove with these same scans that it takes the brain another year or more to recover to the point where the prefrontal cortex is once again turned on and performing in a more normal fashion. On these scans, the brighter and the more red or yellow color, the more that area of the brain is being used. This meth addict was seeing some good results after 14 months of abstinence. In a few more months, their brain should be fully recovered, at least as recovered as it's going to get. And this is the other thing. Brain recovery may never be 100% due to the extent of the damage done by the narcotics. Sometimes brain injury never fully recovers, and after 2 years, you're probably not going to see much more improvement, if any. On this scan, you can see the prefrontal cortex is almost completely turned off with this cocaine addict. And the prefrontal cortex is working normally again. You are still in danger of relapsing and starting narcotics again. Because remember, the craving for the drugs can still increase for up to 2 years. And until you have passed that 2-year mark of abstinence, you are still in danger of relapsing. After the 3rd year mark, the cravings will have diminished considerably and you are much better off. But for some, the cravings never completely go away. Never. And this is why no 30 to 90 day detox will ever work. Because no matter what you do, no matter how many 30 to 90 day detoxes you go through, no matter how much medication they put you on, no matter how many doctors or therapists tell you you're fine, until you pass that 2-year mark of abstinence, you are still in danger of relapsing. This is why almost 100% of drug addicts relapse in the first 2 years. Only about 2 to 3% of people can come off of narcotics on their own. And these are some extraordinary people. For the women, they usually have children. The children give them that needed strength to get clean and stay clean. And if you ask a woman how she did it, she will tell you she did it for her children. For men, it is a near-death experience that can force them across the line. If men do not have a come-to-Jesus moment, they usually continue their addiction. So what do we do? Currently, we have almost 12,000 inmates under the care of West Virginia Division of Corrections Rehabilitation, and almost 8,000 of them are drug addicts. And no one ever gets clean in prison, ever, because drugs are still available in prison. We have drug overdoses in prison on a regular basis. So what does that tell you? So we never release a clean drug addict. These released inmates are getting high before they leave the parking lot in many cases. And most are back on drugs within 30 days because they can't help it. Their brains have not recovered from the damage done by the drugs, and their pleasure center is still hijacked by the drugs. And the most dangerous time for a released inmate is the first 30 days. They frequently overdose and die during that time. And this is what everyone must understand. We cannot arrest our way out of this problem. We cannot continue to build prisons. When the opioid epidemic started in the 1980s, we had 2,000 inmates. Now we have almost 12,000 in our prisons and jails. And ask any of the guards and they will tell you that they see the same people returning over and over again. Ask any cop and they will tell you the same. They deal with the same people over and over again. The state of West Virginia pays the divisions of corrections rehabilitation almost $400 million each year to house these inmates. That is approximately $33,000 spent for each inmate each year. We could send them all to Fairmont State University for $17,000 per year, and that includes room and board. And this is the only thing that is ever going to work. We must stop building prisons, and we must start building state hospitals where we can keep these people long enough for their brains to recover and heal. Our prison inmates are being held for 3 to 5 years on average. That is plenty of time to do what is needed. And if we don't start doing this, nothing is going to change. And we will continue to waste millions and millions of dollars on prisons and jails, and our loved ones will continue to die while trying to survive in their own personal hells. And the families and loved ones will continue to witness this heartbreak every single day. But if we are able to do this, if we can bring back our state hospital systems, we will be releasing loved ones who are in better control of their addictions and have better control over their mental illnesses and are able to live normal lives where they are contributing members to our state and not a burden on it. And the most important thing is we will be saving our loved ones' lives. To do this is not easy. It's not cheap. But in the long run, it will be saving money and lives. And if we're able to do this, we will be inviting to outside companies to come here. We will no longer have the highest drug addiction rate in the nation. We will no longer have the highest per capita drug overdose death rate in the nation. And we will no longer have the lowest labor participation rate in the nation. West Virginia will once again be able to stand tall and be on our own 2 feet, and people will take notice. In 30 years of being a physician, I have been able to help less than a handful of drug-addicted patients in an outpatient setting. An outpatient setting will never work because the addiction is just too strong. They will sit in your examination room and swear to God they are quitting, and then they will stop and get high halfway down the street on their way home. This is the reality of addiction. And I tell this to politicians and interested parties all the time. There is nothing you can think of that hasn't already been tried. No new policies, no new treatment programs, no new therapy sessions, no new medications. These are all a big waste of time, money, and lives, and there is nothing you can think of to try that has not already been tried over the past 40 years 1,000 times by 1,000 different people at 1,000 different locations. So this is the bottom line. Until we build us a new state hospital, nothing is ever going to change. Until we are able to provide a place where our MIDA can get the real care and that is necessary over the needed amount of time for the brain to recover, nothing is ever going to change. We must do this. So I want to thank you for watching, and please tell your friends about my podcast. And next time we're going to discuss the population of West Virginia and why there are reasons to be optimistic. We were on a downhill slide for a number of years, but I believe we are on an upswing now. And I will explain why, and I will also explain how we can make it even better. So until next time, this is Dr. Norman Wood signing off. God bless you. God bless West Virginia, and God bless America.